It's time to talk all things Batman. We still have Shadows of the Bat going on in Detective Comics. We've got an issue of Robin, and Josh is going to talk about Catwoman while I hit up DC versus Vampires. It's time for This Week in Batman with my good friend Josh McDonald from BatmanNews.com, from PopByCulture.com. He is the DC aficionado, the Batman authority himself. What's up, Josh?
Not much, Wes. Not much. We're dividing and conquering this week. Not necessarily on purpose, mainly because
Comixology fucked us all, man.
Oh my God.
It's so hard to get a book.
Dude, I could bitch for a good 45 minutes easy, and but that is not why we are here. We're here to talk about Batman.
Oh, we're probably going to be bitching, though.
We will.
To talk about. Man. Let's get right into Detective Comics 1054. We're kind of winding down on Shadows of the Bat. Mariko Tamaki, Max Rain on art, so it's not Ivan Rice anymore. Taken as an individual issue, there are some things that you would like in this comic book, Josh. But taken as a whole of a part of this ongoing story, it is quite clear at this point they didn't have enough story for 12 issues. They had enough story for 4.
Yeah.
And the fact that it took them this long to get here, this should have been the second or third issue. It's infuriating getting this far and finally getting to this point.
It's super infuriating. And you know, you mentioned this could happen in the second issue. And in some ways it kind of did. Like, they revealed their hand in the second issue. And they've just been like beating around the bush ever since then, being like, la, 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 filling some pages. Yeah, you know, there are moments in this that I really liked. You've got a couple of different confrontations going on in this issue that are entertaining. Unfortunately, because of all the issues leading up to this, I don't care. I'm over it. I'm ready to move on.
The main character, what's his name? Where? Basically, the walls are falling all around him. His deal with Penguin, he owes him money. His deal with the party crashers has gone down. They're mad at him. They wanted to kill. He's trying to get Nakano to finally sign off. And he's got everything is kind of falling apart around him as he's doing this big speech. And the only thing kind of propping up his plan is Psycho Pirate. Yeah. This was the dumbest part, Josh. There's a lot to like in this comic book. This part I didn't like. As soon as Psycho Pirate, you know, he saw Nightwing last issue, he has him under control. As soon as the party crashers show up, he just loses control on everybody. It's like, I lost it. It's like, well, how about you just leave them alone and keep everyone else under wraps like you were doing before?
And on one hand, you kind of think like, hey, wouldn't you have learned your lesson from the previous issues when Psycho Pirate has passed out and lost control for a hot second, you know, with all of his energy cans all around him, or energy drinks. But this, it just goes. They tried to ease into it by having, I think, Dr. Chase or another doctor be like, oh, why are the patients all sweaty? And then you go from that line to like, nope, I can't control anyone now. It's mayhem. It was just way too quick. It was too much and it was not executed well. You
know what would have been a good execution is he tries to overcome Nightwing as he's controlling everybody, but he's controlling so many people. Nightwing knocks him out and inadvertently causes all the mayhem.
And that's what I thought was going to happen, but it didn't. So would it have been the obvious answer? Yes. It still would have been the better answer.
Sometimes the obvious answer is the correct answer because it's obvious. It's like, that's what's happening.
The obvious answer. Yep.
So other than that, there's some interesting things going on here. Obviously, Weir's about to get his comeuppance. Nakano is about to sign off, but Batgirl appears to have intervened, and we got Stephanie Brown, spoiler, in the crowd trying to save him, and it's just all mayhem, and it's about to, you know, the shit has essentially hit the fan. We know that Weir's about to die because they already showed us that part.
Yep.
And we know that Dick Grayson is going to get stuck. He's going to get stuck somewhere. Huntress is going to be in an elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks that we already know all this.
Yeah. Like, again, I don't care because I already know.
There's enough going on in this issue that's enjoyable, that is really kind of paying off, but they just waited so long. This should have been issue number 2 or 3, and this story would have been perfectly fine. But DC Comics got greedy once again, decided to expand a 4-issue, 3-issue story into a 12-issue event, within Detective Comics. And unfortunately, Mariko Tamaki is doing better. I mean, she's doing better than I anticipated on Detective Comics, but she's not that writer. She wasn't able to fill this out and make it feel impactful and meaningful and worth your time and money. And I think a lot of people probably, if you leave Detective Comics because of this, I don't blame you.
I don't blame you either. And what I will say is I'll give Tamaki some ounce of credit. She's releasing a weekly book, and that is not easy. But yeah, this is not even close to what we had hoped it would have been. And again, if you jump ship, I don't blame you.
Now let's go over to Robin number 11. I've been loving this series. Obviously, we've gotten the end of the Lazarus tournament. We got a flashback to where Robin's kind of meeting his grandmother when she was younger. She was actually pretty hot. We're back into regular times. We've got Talia al Ghul. We got Ra's al Ghul. We got Mother Soul. We got all the fighters are still there. We got Gleb Melnikov on art, which looks fantastic. Yep. This is a slick-looking comic book. I just want to put that out there. It looks really good. Essentially, what this comic book is Josh, it's a setup for this Shadow War event. It's setting up the events where we're going to have Warriors of Lazarus versus League of Assassins and all that kind of stuff. It's all playing out here in the story. But it's still pretty damn good. It's leading up to something important. We end up kind of getting our team of heroes that we've all enjoyed. We wanted to see something with Robin and Flatline and Cotter Hawk and Ravager and Respawn. Yep. And we finally got that little mini adventures they're going after. Who is it? Master Dust?
Right? I think it's Dusk. Is it Dust or Dusk? It's some dude. He's one of the Mother Soul's minions.
They got to go after him and get an artifact from him or something. We also get Lady Shiva finally shows up and explains why she wasn't in the tournament. I like that they threw a little bit of that in there. And, it's exciting stuff. We finally got to see the team together in a little adventure. I wish it would have been 3 issues instead of just a little subplot in this comic book, because that's really what I wanted to see. The Ra's al Ghul stuff, while interesting, isn't really what I've come to the party for. But when it happens, it's actually quite enjoyable. Enjoyed it.
The best thing going for this book is it's a lot of fun, and there's so much energy in it. And Williamson, takes it seriously, but doesn't take himself too seriously in writing it. So you can come in and you can just have a good time while reading the book, and it progresses at a nice pace. So those are 2 huge things going for it. And then, we've spent these issues now just wanting to see these kids come together as a team. And again, you finally kind of get that. And even though it's a quick, brief moment, it's also kind of teased of like, hey, wink, wink, you will get more of this. So I hope that's the case. And that leaves me eager for future issues.
And we did finally get to see Ravager and Respawn talking like, correct. Oh, you want to see my face? He takes his mask off. We don't see it, but she clearly recognizes who it is, and they decide to leave together on a side quest. I imagine they're meeting up with her father to set up the events in Shadow War. I thought that was interesting.
It looks like it's going to fall over into that as well. And you mentioned Lady Shiva popping in. I think that another win for this book is the breadth that it has. It encompasses so many different characters within the universe, but in a respectful way that you feel like you're in a shared universe. And the characters, seem to be represented well. I think my least favorite character here is Ra's al Ghul, and it's just because he seems a little off. But I don't dislike him. It's just like, all right, that's probably my least favorite.
He's sitting in between his wife that hates him, or his mom that doesn't like him very much, and his daughter that's opposing him.
Very much so. Yeah, he's not in the best position. But overall, I'm enjoying this book, and I can't say that for many DC books right now. So that is a huge win for Williamson and Robin.
And you can definitely tell that Williamson's put some thought and some time into setting up the stage for this Shadow War. I think Batman probably was a last-minute addition, but he's definitely been working towards it in Deathstroke Inc. We've definitely gotten it here within Robin. So we're going to get a payoff of something that wasn't put together hoity-toity at the last second. As far as the Mother Soul, Ra's al Ghul conflict or disagreements, whatever, I could take it or leave it. You know what I mean? I'm just not invested in that part of the story. Obviously Ra's al Ghul is going to win because he's the established character. It's not going to be Mother Soul. But if it takes Robin and his friends on an adventure, so be it.
So be it indeed. And the absolute best thing about this book was the tease at the end.
Let's not get away too much, Josh.
No, I'm just saying there's a tease at the end that.
Yes, there was. It was very, very effective.
Look, I'll just say I was like, fuck yeah. So that was my response. Go read the book.
Definitely be reading Robin. Definitely be reading Deathstroke Inc. this week as well. Now let's go over to Catwoman. I cannot read Catwoman. I have not enough Tini Howard in my life. We read Catwoman 39. I said, no mas. We've got Catwoman 40, Tini Howard, Nico Leode. You decided to subject yourself to this. I want to say thank you for taking one for the team, for taking one for the viewers. How was it?
One, I'll start off by saying that part of the reason I read this book was because I didn't have any other books to read because I can't access my books through Comixology. So thanks, Amazon. No, so this was a book that I decided to pick up because I have the review copies that DC sends to us at Batman News. So huge thanks to DC for that. It was better than the first issue. It was a little more focused for the most part. And it started to lean in the, the operations of these different like mob groups that are there. And for me, I like that type of storytelling, and I like when street level characters fall into that. So I enjoyed that aspect. Those elements were done really well, and you kind of get to focus on some lower level mob characters and kind of flesh them out. And the aspects of them and their mob work was done well. They tried to influence personal elements into it, and it was hit or miss. Like, you have the son of one of these mob groups, and he's expected to be the heir, but then his best friend is kind of like potentially taking the spot from him. But plot twist, they're actually lovers, and like that. I take it or leave it. It's what it is. But the part that really just sucked for me is this new character that they introduced in the first issue, and I can't remember his name, Val or whatever, the guy with the white thing. He comes back into play, or she comes back into play. They play that you can't tell if it's a male or female, to the point that Tini goes all Tini Howard is like, oh, I like that. That's what the character says. Selena comments that she can't tell whether this is a guy or a girl. And then that character goes, oh, I like that. Stupid. But anyways, the moment that character comes into play, the book just kind of falls apart, and it's at the end of the issue. And then I'm like, yep, this is why I was not reading this book. So better than better than the debut, but still not great.
From my point of view, better you than me. So thank you very much for reading that. I ain't doing it. I love the viewers, but I don't love them that much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I wouldn't read DC versus Vampires #5. James Tynion, Matthew Rosenberg, Simone DeMeo, and Otto Schmidt. This is an action-packed comic book. This thing is just characters fighting each other. You got different version of vampire heroes kind of all going at each other. The art is really what sells this book. It is really frenetic. It's got a lot of energy into it, really well illustrated. Looks a lot better than Deceased, but what it's missing that Deceased had that I think made Deceased so enjoyable is Deceased had these really great character moments. Mm-hmm. When something, it felt like they were all earned. Here you have a lot of cool character fights, which is definitely good fan service. You have better art, but you're missing the heart of what was there for Deceased. So I really enjoy DC versus Vampires. And I think if you're looking for something at DC that you can go and read and enjoy, and not have to worry about the current state of the DC continuity, this is a comic book you should definitely be going in on. But you're not going to be getting those amazing moments, or at least you haven't so far. There's been a couple of decent character moments, but nothing in comparison to Superman saying goodbye to his son, or Batman doing the same, kind of handing over the mantle to Damian Wayne within Deceased. So I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's not amazing. I don't think this is going to be an all-time classic or a banger kind of like that, but DC versus Vampires definitely worth your time.
I read the first issue of DC versus Vampires, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I got behind and, would have caught up for this, but again,
you got homework to do, young man. That'll do it for this week in Batman. Detective Comics 1054 on its own, not a bad issue. But as far as the entire collective, why is it just now happening? This thing should have happened 6 weeks ago. Yep. Absolute waste of time to get to this. Plus, we already know the stuff that's going to happen in the next issue. I don't think that letting people see the ending at the beginning, I thought that was going to be the middle, but obviously where we are in the story, that's the ending of the story. Probably wasn't an effective story writing trope. Robin 11, definitely go read this book. That's one of the better things out there at DC Comics. Read Deathstroke Inc. and get ready for this Shadow of War. Going to be a much better event than this Shadows of the Bat. Are you recommending Catwoman 40?
No.
Smart man. I say go read DC versus Vampires. It's still good. It's a fun book.
Yeah.
It's popcorn. I recently talked about the solicitations for DC Comics in May of 2022. They're going all in on Batman, and they're really taking advantage of your customers. So if you're a big-time Batman fan, if you're a Batman completionist collector, you need to see this video, because the numbers and the way that they're taking advantage of Batman fans is absolutely disgusting. You won't believe the charge up you're getting for being a Batman fan these days.